You're listening to another episode of Tap Outs and Touchdowns.
That's right, everybody. It's another football episode of Tap Outs and Touchdowns. As always, it's your guy, Bully Rye, and we are on the eve of the 2024 NFL Draft, and that's why I'm rocking with my Lions gear and over to my proverbial right, but even though he's on the left, and you get it, is rocking his Miami Dolphins gear. Bill, what's going on, bud?
I mean, I can't tell you. I'm giggling because we were having a conversation before we go live. Where Ryan and I are already like in the mode, and we're going back and forth about different things. And I'm excited, man. Everybody talks about the NCAA tournament as being their favorite sports time of year. For some dumb reason, I enjoy the NFL draft more than anything that I will watch. I love the NFL draft. It is one of my favorite things. It is like, I think I know why. I think it's because I'm a Miami Dolphins fan, and it always hope for the future was more than what we actually got. It was a better product than what we got on the field for how many years. So I just get super giddy. I'm super excited to see what kind of potential some of these players are going to have and who ends up where, man. So let's get, as you would say, without further ado.
Well, last year we were on a cruise during the NFL draft, so we had to like sneak away and upset your wife when we were trying to sneak away to look at the TVs and the sports bars and stuff like that to see who got drafted where. We were on our phones like, hey, so-and-so got drafted. So it was fun stuff. Not this year. We'll be able to watch it in front of the TV. Quick reminder, if you're watching with us live, be it X, Facebook, or YouTube, leave a comment in the chat. We got some people in here. Volley Polly in here. I know us alone with a t-shirt. And then your sister Tara's in here to watch the show with us tonight. So leave a comment, join the conversation because we got a lot to talk about. And we're going to spend the bulk of the show talking about the NFL draft. But before we get there, we like to open the show with my favorite segment in Homer's Corner. And I'm going to start us off here because, again, we're talking about NFL draft. We're talking about what's next for our teams and how we're going to improve. Well, the Lions improved from a visual aspect this week as the Lions unveiled their new uniform combinations, which includes a new blue helmet and return to black jerseys. Gone are the color rush grays, and they have brought back black uniforms with black pants that are supposed to go along with the blue helmet. The rumor has it that Dan Campbell went to the general manager and said, hey, bring back the black jerseys. And they said, okay, we'll win a division and we'll bring them back. And sure enough, it happened. They've also made some tweaks to the blue and white uniforms. But that's not all. Lions news to break today. Some big news out of some contracts that Lions fans were concerned about not being filled, including that of one Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was locked up on a contract extension today. I'm pulling up the numbers right now. Let's start. Yeah, here we go. 4 years, $112 million extension that makes him the new highest paid. I'm sorry, that's Penei Sewell. Let's start with Penei Sewell. Penei Sewell was also extended. Young offensive lineman. He's now the newest highest paid offensive lineman in the NFL. Words are hard. I'll get there. 4 year, $112 million, $85 million guaranteed. And then when we talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown, I believe he got a 5-year extension, something along those lines, where they paid him like crazy too. And Bill, you and I were talking off the air that like they overpaid Amon-Ra St. Brown. But I mentioned to you that like, listen, they set the market. Like they sort of came in, paid these guys. So now that the Cincinnati Bengals, who by the way, not only has T. Higgins requested a trade, their star defensive end has now requested a trade out of Cincinnati. But now they're going to have to base the salary that they pay Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb, et cetera, on what Amon-Ra St. Brown has now gotten from the Detroit Lions. Bill, what say you? I mean, again, we talked off the air and you said it was a bad move, but like, what are your thoughts on the contract extensions announced out of Detroit today?
I hate hearing the numbers. I mean, to be honest, $30 million a year. That's crazy talk to me. But I mean, I guess I'm a little old fashioned. That seems like a lot for a wide receiver, but we've talked about it multiple times. We're going to talk about it in the draft. And especially with my team, Tyreek Hill, changed the offense. And so Amon-Ra St. Brown is that type of player. I don't know. You decide. I don't know the Lions that well. Well enough to feel like he's not worth $30 million a year, but whatever. You're right. You're not wrong. If they don't set the market with him and somebody else signs another wide receiver for more, say they, $35 million, whatever, then Amon-Ra's probably coming back looking for more than $30 million. So, I hate hearing the numbers. I hate hearing wide receivers getting paid that much money, for per season because, the salary cap is only around 240 somewhere in there. So I don't know, whatever. So you look at percentages of how many each player takes up, but I see what they did. And Penei Sewell definitely worth it. And that's a lot of money.
You mentioned Amon-Ra. It's 4 years, $120 million that contains $77 million in total guarantees. It should be noted that Jared Goff has not received an extension. This is a direct quote from Adam Schefter on X. There is no deal imminent for Lions quarterback Jared Goff, despite the fact that Amon-Ra St. Brown and offensive tackle Penei Sewell now have landed new deals. Per source, the Lions and Goff have spoken about a new deal this offseason, but no deal is close at this time. I'm sure that they wanted to lock up their stars in Sewell and St. Brown and see if Jared Goff can repeat what he's done the last 2 years in Detroit before they lock him up, because they did just sign or they did just draft the quarterback out of Tennessee in last year's draft. And of course, his name is escaping me. Hendon Hooker, who tore his ACL against South Carolina. Bill, your Homer's Corner has to do with your team as well. I think this is the first time in probably a few months that we both talked football about our teams in Homer's Corner. You've got something that you want to talk about when it comes to the Dolphins throwback uniforms.
I think it was a little bit surprising for me. And by the way, Ryan, we predicted the black uniforms, I think, on here a couple weeks ago. Well done.
Oh, yeah.
Pat on the back for both of us. Good job. Good job. But the Dolphins came out this week and said that they will not be changing, even though the fans, there's a section of fans, it's hard to tell what the majority feels like because there's not an actual poll that can decide that. But the majority of fans feel like the Dolphins should be wearing their throwback uniforms, not this logo. What side is that on? Is it whatever? This one? Not this one. This is the 90s logo. The one prior to that, the one that they wear 2 times a year. Basically, the last time they wore it was against Dallas in their last win of the season last year. But a lot of the fans think that those should be the permanent uniforms, including Dan Marino. Dan Marino loves those uniforms, thinks they look fantastic. And they came out this week and said, nah, it's not happening. It's not going to happen. In fact, we're not even going to bring in new uniforms like, say, the Lions did, because our owner, his stamp on the franchise was changing the uniforms and coming up with the new logo and the new look that they have now. And, well, it's his, and he's going to stick with it. Thought this was a little bit weird, kind of telling the fans, like, yeah, not going to listen to you because, well, arrogance. Love it. Billionaire arrogance. Got to love it.
I mean, listen, if they're winning games, I guess you can kind of tell the fans what he wants to do, and they're going to deal with it.
That's taken a bit. He finally got there. It was only, I don't know how many years that Ross has owned the team. And I like Stephen Ross. I think he's been a decent owner. A lot of people hate him. I think he's put money into the team, and it's been good. But, yeah, just a little bit of arrogance saying, nope, this is my baby. I love my new logo, even though you hate it. I don't care what you think. And remember, guy, these are the people that pay for your team.
Well, he's not worse than Jerry Jones, and he's not worse than
we're only talking about uniforms here. We're only talking about uniforms.
He's not worse than old David Tepper over here in Carolina, the worst owner in sports. Bill, remind me off the air to tell you a fun story I have about Dan Marino after the show. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into some UFL talk now that we're out of Homer's Corner, because we did have Week 4 come and go over the past weekend.
Quickly.
Yeah, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time here in talking UFL, but we did have some games play out. And unfortunately, they played 2 games at the same time. But on the bright side, one of those games went into a weather delay, so you actually got to watch both games if you stayed up late Saturday night. Let's start off with the game that opened the weekend here as the Memphis Showboats took a loss to the St. Louis Battlehawks. Let's start off and talk about the Memphis Showboats, who only scored 17 points in this game. They fall to 1-3 on the season. They're sticking with Case Cookus despite having 55 yards passing with an interception. I believe there's, if I remember looking at the stats correctly, it looked like they brought in another quarterback. I don't know if Cookus got hurt.
Williams. Yeah, Troy
Yeah, there
Williams
you go.
came in.
They're still trying to get the run game going as Darius Victor goes off for 5.3 yards a carry with a touchdown. They've got a different leading receiver in this past week in Sage Surratt. You had some big defensive playmakers here. Is Lamont? I'm guessing this is called. His name is McFatter. It's MC Fat with a PH. Had 11 tackles and a forced fumble. Bill, what'd you see out of Memphis this week? I mean, it's they're starting. Last week we asked who was the worst team in the UFL between Arlington and Houston, and I think Memphis is starting to make their case to be one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the UFL.
They're just bad. There's not a whole lot good here, and they did not play well against St. Louis. St. Louis looked really good, obviously. I don't think there's much to say about it. I mean, the only thing that they did well, Darius Victor had a pretty nice average per carry. They didn't stick with him. They were down a lot of points. They couldn't stop A.J. McCarron and the St. Louis Battlehawks offense. And, yeah, it didn't work. It was just not good. I mean, decent game at halftime, I guess, 20-17. And then they couldn't stop St. Louis, and they couldn't do anything on offense. So
let's go ahead and talk about Let's go ahead and talk about St. Louis. You mentioned their offense clicking on all cylinders. A.J. McCarron to over 200 yards passing, 3 touchdowns in this game. You get 103 rushing yards out of Jacob Sailors. We mentioned last week there were no stats recorded for Wayne Gallman. He got back involved. I believe he may have been hurt, but the UFL does a really good job of keeping injuries under wraps, so we didn't quite know. But again, your usual suspects from this team with Ja'Cour Pearson with 70 yards and a touchdown.
Pearson returned. Yeah.
So Pearson had a big day. Hakeem Butler had a big day. The defense got after the offense from Memphis with 4 sacks, 5 pass breakups, and the interception. Bill, St. Louis now improves to 3-1. That makes them, I believe, the second best team in the UFL, at least the number 1 team in the XFL division. You mentioned that their offense is clicking on all cylinders. Is St. Louis the team to beat in the XFL division right now?
Absolutely. They're better than San Antonio. So yeah, they are the team. It's going to be, at least it looks right now, I think it's going to look like it's going to be St. Louis versus Birmingham coming down the stretch. Yeah. You know, those are going to be the teams that look like they're going to make the championship game. As it stands, I mean, we're not even halfway through the season yet, but as it stands, obviously things can change, injuries can happen, things like that. But I think those are the teams to look for, and we'll watch the season as it goes on to see if that, changes. We saw last season a team completely surprise us, even in the playoffs. So, things can happen, but there's two good teams in this league, and everybody's shooting for them.
Shannon Smith in the chat saying, A.J. McCarron trying to win another MVP. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Bill, you mentioned Birmingham a second ago. They get a win Saturday night, 20-18 over the DC Defenders. This game was tight. This game wasn't the most exciting game to watch, but it was one of those games that we've been watching over the last couple of weeks that come down to one of the last possessions in the game. Let's start off with DC. Jordan Ta'amu continues to play okay. Not great, but okay. 160 yards, 2 touchdowns. They're still dedicated to the run game with Cameron Harris, 34 yards on the ground, 3.1 yards per carry. I will mention, because I finally get a chance to do it, a running back that played at South Carolina got in this game, averaging 3.3 yards per carry. Did Zaquandre White show up in his first action for the DC Defenders? And then again, you've got some more a different change at the leading receiver for this team, and Kelvin Harmon, a wide receiver out of NC State, with 93 yards and a touchdown through the air. Again, when you look at this game as it came down to the last possession, kicker Matthew McCrane kicked a 39-yarder with just over a minute to go. But the defense could not stop Birmingham going down the field to kick their game-winning field goal. Bill, we just talked about the fact that we think that St. Louis might be the team to beat in the XFL division. The DC Defenders are 2-2, but we like them preseason. What do the DC Defenders need to do to get back on the right track? Because Birmingham's the best team in the league. They lost by 2. What'd you see out of DC last weekend?
They got to run the football. Got to figure out how to run the football. Averaging 3.5 yards per carry, you're not going to get it done. This team was built on running the football last season. Ta'amu was never a great passer and had a good set of wide receivers last season, and they just aren't running the football right now. They have to figure that out, or else. I mean, they're not bad. We thought Birmingham was far and away a better team than any team we had seen in the UFL this season, and I mean they took them down to the last minute. So, and they're a good team, and this was in Birmingham. So up in DC, maybe the result is different, but yeah, they got to get committed to the ground and figure out how to get to run the ball.
Yeah, Shannon Smith asked what they're missing. They're missing in a running game. They're missing Abram Smith in DC.
And offensive line play. We see it every week that, there are certain offensive lines that can do it and a lot of offensive lines that can't in the UFL. And I don't know if that's a thing you can fix if you can coach these guys up, but we see it, the UFL has, and so does the NFL. I mean, how often do we hear about how bad offensive lines are in the NFL that people can't get time to pass? They're having the same issue in the UFL. They just can't move defensive linemen. It seems like obviously that's probably easier to do, to stand in the way, than it is to push somebody. Honestly, if we're talking about it, right? So yeah, they're just not able to run the ball. They're not able to open holes for the running backs, and the running backs aren't finding them if they are there. So once they figure that out, I think DC will be okay. I think they seem like they have a pretty good team. And honestly, this game, Ryan, we talked about it. The spread on this was 8, and we thought that was an easy cover for Birmingham the way they had been playing. Obviously not. So DC definitely played a lot better than we thought they did, and I think that gives me a little hope for the rest of the season.
So you mentioned the fact that Birmingham has been seemingly, I mean, they are unbeatable. They are the last undefeated team left in the UFL. But the thing that kind of throws me off is that we thought Adrian Martinez took the job in week 3, and they roll out Matt Corral, who just does nothing but throw for 240 yards and has 7.3 yards per carry on the ground. So it's like Skip Holtz is doing the college thing where he's going to run out whatever quarterback is.
He came out and said it. He said it. He came out and said that these guys are both looking for an opportunity. It's not about winning, not as much about winning games as when you have two guys that are as close as these two guys are in talent level, that he wants to give both of them an opportunity to put tape down. He actually came out in an article and said that he's not just going to say, okay, Adrian Martinez had a fantastic game. That means that Corral's not going to be playing anymore. He wants both guys to have an opportunity so that they can possibly further their careers, which is a nice way to think of the UFL. However, you also want to win. So as long as they keep doing that, I would say if one starts to tank, you're probably not going to see as much as of that player.
Yeah, real quick, Austin Thompson back in the chat. We're getting pumped with the draft. Stay tuned to the end of the show because once we're done
not even
talking,
the end. The next 10 minutes. Next 10 minutes.
Once we're done talking UFL, we're talking NFL draft. We're talking first round. So stay tuned because we got a lot of draft to talk about. Going back to Birmingham for just a second, it seems like a lot of these teams in the UFL have different stars each week. Deion Kane has been the star wide receiver for this team. He got shut down, 3 carries for 24 yards. But the other wide receiver from Clemson is normally returning kicks and punts for this team. Amari Rogers had 4 catches, 82 yards, and a touchdown. He had a 50-yard catch and run. Listen, we talked about it. They came back down 18-17 with 1:04 to go, marched the ball down the field, kicked the field goal with 4 seconds left. Birmingham remains unbeaten, and I think we'll both agree that Birmingham right now is the team to beat in the UFL. But the other game that took place Saturday night featured the Michigan Panthers and the San Antonio Brahmas. The San Antonio Brahmas tied at the top of the division of the XFL, gets a 19-9 win. Bill, I'll be honest, this game was not fun to watch. Shannon's got a question back Birmingham. Let's back it up real quick. One of the quarterbacks, do you think Birmingham will trade one of those quarterbacks? I don't. I think they like the fact that if one of them goes down, they've got the other one that can come manage the team. Bill, do you have anything to any thoughts to share about that situation as well?
I think that if this were any other league in any other situation, then you might look to do that because I would imagine that I think either one of those options is better than, let's say, that Michigan has. I think that EJ Perry is not as good as either one of those two players. So I think that, yes, you could get something from maybe Michigan. But has anybody stood out for Michigan that you think would be a good trade target? Probably not. And you're not, obviously in the NFL, they trade for draft picks. Well, there's no real draft in the UFL. So I don't know. I don't feel it just because I don't see what the point would be for Birmingham.
If it's not broke, don't fix it. There's no reason to trade somebody away because there's not much you're going to get from anybody really in the UFL that's going to propel you to better than 4-0, right? You mentioned EJ Perry and the Michigan Panthers. Well, they had enough of EJ Perry this week. He had 7 yards passing on 7 completions. So they brought in Danny Etling, former quarterback at LSU, that threw for 100 yards, but he also had an interception. Again, the running back out of Irmo, South Carolina, led the team in rushing with 27 yards, just under 4 yards a carry. I've got, if you're watching the show live, you can read the ticker to look at some of the defensive stats with Noah Dawkins out of Citadel, and Kai Nakua continuing to do what the Nakuas do and just ball out. Jake Bates kicks another 49-yard field goal in this game. Michigan falls to 2-2. I don't know what to make of this Michigan team, Bill. You talked about like maybe they trade for a quarterback, but who's willing to give up one to make Michigan more competitive? Bill, what's your thoughts on the Michigan Panthers 4 games into the year?
We talked about it. EJ Perry, good running quarterback, hasn't really shown any ability to pass, and that happened to him this weekend. They brought in Danny Etling. Etling was better through the air, but through an interception, so obviously a problem. I don't think Michigan's a very good team, and you've picked them as your favorite. So good job, Mike.
I haven't gotten it quite yet. Real quick, let's read a couple of comments. Michelle Russell back in the chat. I guess we had a friend anniversary on Facebook that I didn't send her flowers for. Mike Tackett wants to go back over on Facebook, wants to go back and ask what we think about Scooby Wright's career-ending injury affecting the Birmingham defense the rest of the year. Bill, any thoughts on what Mike Tackett has to say?
You cannot replace a Gary Bertier. That's as hard as remember the Titans moment. No, you can't. He's a good player. He's a starter. And that's unfortunate. He's played in the league, and he, obviously has been a spring football player for a lot of years, playing in the USFL, playing in the UFL now. And that's really unfortunate. I feel bad for him that he's now announced his retirement. That's terrible. He was their starter. So is it going to affect them? Of course it is. Of course it is. Their defense gets a little bit worse. But we'll see, in football, there's always that next man up mentality, and you're going to have that here. And we'll find out if he had a star playing behind him. Hopefully they do.
Truly unfortunate for a league where you're trying to get second chances, and this is where you see your career come to an end. But again, as is football. Football is a violent sport. Anything can happen at any moment. So again, thoughts go out to Scooby Wright. Let's go over here to San Antonio now. Quentin Dormady, you were excited about him coming in, and boy, did he have a debut here for San Antonio, 269 yards. He did throw an interception along with his touchdown. San Antonio, again, improves to 3-1. I don't know what to make of San Antonio. I think they're just as good as anybody in the XFL, but we're talking, we think that St. Louis is the team to beat. But then, DC looks like they can compete with Birmingham. San Antonio comes out and puts, albeit a boring game plan together, and gets the win over Michigan. What do you make? What do you make of this San Antonio team? I know you like their uniform. You said they've got the best uniforms in the league.
I don't know what it is. I love their uniforms. Yeah.
What's your thoughts about San Antonio going forward?
Well, Quentin Dormady carried this team this weekend. I mean, that's a performance. I mean, yeah, he did throw the one pick. You said it, but 269 yards in the UFL, that's a big number. So we're pretty excited about that. I am, because the Orlando Guardians still live through Quentin Dormady. He was good last year. We talked about it many times. We thought he was one, and I've said it on here the last couple of weeks. We thought he was the quarterback that was going to make it into the league from the XFL last season, that he might, latch on to a practice squad or be a third string quarterback somewhere. He had 2 really bad weeks to end the season, got no looks whatsoever, and ends up being the backup in San Antonio to Chase Garbers. I said it here last week. We've seen multiple times this season in the UFL where the starter goes down, where we've seen Corral get benched, that the backup comes in and plays well. And here it is again. It's so hard for these guys to be evaluated so quickly in this league. And we saw Dormady play well last year on a terrible Orlando Guardians team, right? And he carried them to their one victory over the team that was in the championship game, the DC Defenders. So I was excited to see him play well, man. And he had 2 wide receivers over 100 yards, one of them being my favorite, John Trey Kirkland. So that was exciting. But yeah, I'm Orlando Guardians live, man, through Quentin Dormady. They're just staying alive. The heartbeat is there, and I was happy to see him. I feel like I've picked. I don't want to keep saying Vamos Brahmas. I'm not a fan of that. That sounds goofy. But you know that every league in the UFL, or every team in the UFL, has their own little saying that the UFL
DC just
like
say
tag.
Is DC's just like live on beer snake? Like what?
No. DC's like I'll have to go. What? Like I know Houston's is protect the rig.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to go.
Yeah.
We'll have to go through and we'll talk about it next week on the show.
But anyway, so the San Antonio one is Vamos Brahmas, and while I don't love it, I'm feeling it, man. I'm a Brahmas guy right now. I'm feeling it. I think that's going to be my team for the season.
All right, last up on the slate from last weekend, you had the worst teams in the league. The last two winless teams in the league, Arlington traveling to Houston. We did get a comment earlier from Volley Polly. Must know if now we can say that Arlington has surpassed the Dallas Cowboys as the worst team in Texas. Sorry to my partner.
Oh, that one's a good one.
That
one should be shared. That's good.
That's good. Arlington falls
Cowboys
to 0-4.
Are still worse. Sorry, Cowboys are still. When was the last Super Bowl? Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, I was a kid. I mean, that tells you that much.
95.
Well, let's talk about Arlington here because Luis Perez leads the league in passing.
Let's not. But we can't figure out what's wrong with this team. What is wrong with this team? They played Houston. It was a terrible, terrible team. We thought Houston was absolutely the worst team in the UFL. And Arlington played everybody tough. And then they played the other poo team in the toilet bowl. And they're awful. 9 points? Was it 9? Was it 9?
Yeah, they got 9 points. And the defense combined for 3 sacks and 5 pass breakups. So the defense was sort of trying to fly around the field. It just wasn't enough to
terrible.
Yeah.
Houston's been terrible. And then it's terrible. I don't even want to talk about Arlington. It's so bad.
Well, if you look at Houston,
they're the XFL champions. Have some pride.
Well, you talk about Houston. They did get Mark Thompson back this week, despite 3.8 yards of carry. He did find the end zone. They trailed 3-0 after the first quarter, but scored 11 unanswered in the second and never relinquished the lead. We can't say that Houston's the worst team in the league anymore, Bill. I mean, I think that's about the sum of it. The sum of all points.
Here we go again. Reed Sinnett on the bench. Guarantano starts the season. Like Guarantano gets injured, he's done, and Sinnett's a better quarterback. How did we not see this before? You and I did. We talked about it in the primer. We thought Sinnett would be the starter.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
Call us up. We'll coach tomorrow. I'll coach tomorrow. I'll tell you who should start in your team. You obviously don't know what you're doing.
I still think Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson needs to sort of give us that stamp of approval as the official podcast in the UFL. But I digress. Let's talk about Week 5 because we need to get to the NFL draft talk. The San Antonio Brahmas. I think I didn't type this out wrong. They're more than a half-point favorite against Arlington. I want to say it was 7.5, and I've also missed. Nope, I got San Antonio right. San Antonio's favored against Arlington. I think it's Saturday, 7:00 p.m. on Fox. It's one of 2 games playing Saturday at 7 p.m. on Fox. Bill, I think we can both agree that San Antonio is going to probably steamroll Arlington.
Oh yeah, it would make no sense. Is that really a half? Is that really a half?
No, it's not. I think when I was typing it up. Yeah, when I was typing it up,
it's 5. It's 5, right?
Hold on, it's. I want to say I'm pulling it up right 7.5.
7.5. Wow, that's a big number. I still think.
No. I was wrong. 2.5. 2.5. I'm going to get it right.
Gosh.
The next game 7.5 is 2.5.
All right, 2.5. Yeah, give me San Antonio.
Yeah.
Vamos, all right.
The other game playing 7:00 Saturday night, Birmingham Stallions at the Houston Roughnecks, 7:00 on Fox. Listen, if you have the Fox Sports app, they will play both games. So, and 9 times out of 10, they're playing in 4K if you have a 4K TV. Birmingham at Houston. Bill, give me Birmingham. We just talked about the fact that Houston's not the worst team in the league anymore, but Birmingham is still the best team in the league. Give me Birmingham. What say you?
Yeah. I think this would probably be Adrian Martinez's week to start, and he was incredible in his last start. So, yeah, let's go with Birmingham.
All right, Sunday, 12 noon kickoff on ESPN.
It's a good one.
St. Louis Battlehawks at the DC Defenders. 2 of the top teams in the XFL division, going to create some separation here. Bill, who you got? St. Louis at DC.
That's tough, man. I think, what did you say the spread is? 3.5? I think I'll have to go St. Louis. I think I'd like to see DC win this game so we could, bring the division a little bit closer to 3-2 teams. But I don't think the Defenders are going to be able to play with St. Louis.
I'm right there with you. I'm taking St. Louis as well. Michigan at Memphis, Sunday, 3 p.m. kickoff on Fox following the conclusion of the St. Louis DC game. It's a pick 'em. Memphis is a 1-point favorite over the 2-2 Michigan Panthers. I'm wondering if Michigan doesn't just ride
Was that you falling asleep there on this game? Because this one's not going to be that much fun.
It's not going to be fun, but I think Michigan might ride with Danny Etling this week.
Yeah.
And so I think Michigan's got a shot to take out Memphis again. I mean, Memphis is sitting 1-3 on the season. Michigan's got a better record. They sit above them in the standings.
2-2, yeah.
Give me Michigan to win outright. I mean, it's a pick'em game. What say you? Michigan at Memphis.
I think Michigan's got a better roster. Memphis has not played well.
That might be the fastest we've ever gotten through UFL.
Easy peasy.
Because we have got to get to the NFL draft that starts tomorrow, April 25th, April 27th, Detroit, Michigan, Detroit Rock City. I do want to make one more comment or read one more comment here from Volley Polly because he saw the reel that we put out on Instagram, Facebook earlier today when we had our argument last week about the real USC. And he's talking about draft picks. South Carolina having 217, while Southern Cal has 523. I don't care, Volley Polly.
Well,
undoubtedly, you did not.
With all due respect,
and I mean with all due respect, I don't care.
You need that clip from Talladega Nights where the owner of the team says, "Just because you said with all due respect, it doesn't mean you can just say whatever you want."
Yeah, tell us. Yeah. So if you haven't already done it, go to our social media pages. So I've now converted my Instagram page into like a promotional page for the podcast at ryan.w.frick on Instagram. You can watch the reel, comment, share the reel because like it's actually pretty funny. And it's the second reel that I've ever made. Go and like and share it to maybe get some attention. And Pedro agreeing with me. Carolina is the real USC. I completely agree, Pedro. All right, let's get back.
Why is Pedro sucking up? Brown noser.
Is
that because he's a wrestling guy? You guys wrestling guys stick together?
It could be. Let's
talk. Fly together. Okay, go.
Let's talk about the NFL draft again. It takes place this weekend. Bill and I did a mock draft of just the first round for each team. We actually picked for each team.
For every team.
For every team in the first round, which means we didn't pick for the Carolina Panthers in the second. I can't remember if there's any other team that didn't have a first round pick. But we're going to go through and we're going to see, based on team needs and based on who was available, what players we picked, what picks that we had that were similar, what we had different. So let's start off here. If you're watching again live, wherever it is that you're watching, X, YouTube, or Facebook, you can watch the ticker go across the bottom of the screen. There was so much that we actually had to cut it into different parts to show our draft picks. And again, join the conversation so that you can let us know how you feel about our mock drafts. Bill, the Chicago Bears have the number 1 overall pick via trade with the Carolina Panthers last year. This is not Bears pick. They were a 7-win team a season ago, but they have gotten rid of Justin Fields. It just seems that there's some new stuff going on in Chicago. And both of us, it's a foregone conclusion. Everybody's saying it. Caleb Williams will be drafted number 1 overall to the Chicago Bears. Bill, I may be in the minority, and I mean the gigantic, massive part of the population, like the majority of people who watch the NFL and watch college football.
That's what a minority is, Ryan.
Thinks that Caleb Williams is going to come in here and get and be the star, be the savior for the Chicago Bears right away. I think that Caleb Williams is setting himself up to be one of the biggest busts in NFL history. You heard me right. I think Caleb Williams is setting himself up to quite possibly one of the biggest busts in NFL history. Last year, you and I made the comment that whoever drafted Anthony Richardson would be out of a job 4 to 5 years from this time.
Don't bring that up.
I think that this is a similar situation with Caleb Williams in Chicago. I know the Bears went out and got Keenan Allen from the Chargers. I know that they went out and got DeAndre Swift, free agent from Philadelphia via the Lions, where he started his career. I don't like Caleb Williams' attitude. I don't like the fact that he's not entirely accurate. And despite the fact that he is one of the top prospects in this draft, I wish I had the stat to talk about how many quarterbacks in the last 20 years have been drafted in the first round and how many didn't get a second contract with the team they were drafted by. I think Caleb Williams is going to be one of those guys that just doesn't light the world on fire. We're not getting a Tom Brady, a Peyton Manning. We're not even getting a Lamar Jackson out of Caleb Williams, despite him being the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Any thoughts to sort of combat that? Because I know we got a lot.
Why
to
are
get to.
You centering so much on this guy? Why are we,
because I think it's a mistake.
So much on this guy.
Because I think him being drafted as number 1 overall pick is a mistake. We both got Jaden Williams going number 2 to the Washington Commanders. I think Jaden Daniels is a better prospect.
Just giving away our picks here. You've given away our picks here. All right.
It's going across the ticker. People see it.
I am not a fan. I am not a fan of Caleb Williams. I'm not. I am not. I have not seen anything I really like. He's never won a big game. His teams are ranked very highly at the beginning of the seasons, and they fall because of his failure to perform in big games. The first game he was a complete dumpster fire, and last season was against Notre Dame. I don't think he's going to be very good at the NFL level. I think they should have stuck with Justin Fields. Let's move forward. I'm not a big Caleb Williams fan. However, I think that's who they pick at number 1.
I agree. And we've already sort of, I've already sort of given it away. We've both got the quarterback.
Especially because you've got the
LSU.
ticker rolling. The rolling.
You listen, you got to have the ticker going, man.
But we haven't even gotten there yet.
The fans want the visual, so I'm giving them
Foreshadowing, actually. But what if I change my mind?
Well, it's too late to change your mind now because I'm not editing it. All right? Fans are going to get what they're going to get. You know what I'm saying? The ticker is the box of chocolates.
Okay.
And you never know what you're going to go get. So the Commanders trade away Sam Howell. It's a foregone conclusion. They're also going to draft Heisman Trophy winning quarterback out of LSU, Jaden Daniels. And you agree this is the right pick, and this is the right guy.
NFL.com lists their 5 biggest needs as quarterback, offensive tackle, edge rusher, cornerback, and wide receiver. I think you and I both agree they're going to pick a quarterback, and we both agree that it is going to be Jaden Daniels, who I think is going to have a better professional career than Caleb Williams.
I think he's the best quarterback in this draft. And as does Pedro, he takes Jaden Daniels over Caleb Williams as well. At number 3, we agree on as well, Bill. The New England Patriots traded away Mac Jones. They've never gotten anything going since Tom Brady left town. There's a new regime in New England. Bill Belichick no longer there. We've both got the Patriots taking Drake May, the quarterback out of North Carolina. Another foregone conclusion by every expert that says that the Patriots are going to take Drake May. Bill, what's your thoughts? I've got mine, but I want to hear yours first.
Well, I think, to be honest, this is the first position in the draft that we are in imminent danger of a team trading down and getting out of their position to basically allow somebody else to draft Drake May. I personally feel like Drake May is the second coming of Mac Jones. I'm a little confused here. I saw a graphic not long ago, and I wish I would have shared it. But it was the comparison of CJ Stroud's rookie year versus Mac Jones's rookie year. And you would be shocked how similar they are. Then I think that was kind of projecting CJ Stroud's possible, trajectory as a player that, he had a great season, but that doesn't mean anything yet. Once they figure out how to play this guy, or if something goes wrong with the team. But Mac Jones didn't look all that bad in his first year. Everybody thought he was the next coming of, whatever great quarterback. And obviously now he's in Jacksonville, projected to back up Trevor Lawrence. And now you've got Bailey Zappi. You can't live with that. So I would imagine that they end up picking Drake May here, unless they want to trade down and look for one of the other second-tier quarterbacks like Bo Nix or Michael Penix.
I see the parallels with Drake May and Mitch Trubisky, both limited
can't
time.
Be you and I are as good a parallel with Mitch Trubisky. I mean, that's like, he was awful. He never.
Well, I say that because Mitch Trubisky got 1 year at North Carolina before he went into the league. Everybody thought he was the next big thing, and didn't happen. Drake May, also out of North Carolina. I believe he only had 2 years at UNC. So, obviously, and I can't say Sam Howell, not Sam Howell, Sam Hart. No, I was right. Sam Howell, got the start over, prior to Drake May arriving in North Carolina. So listen, I anybody that takes Drake May at number 3 overall, like that is more of an accurate statement about what we said about Anthony Richardson last year than anything. If you draft Drake May at number 3 overall, you're probably not set up for success. It's funny. Michelle says the Steelers might want another quarterback. I don't think so. They've already announced that they're not going. We haven't gotten to Steelers quite yet, but they've already announced they're not picking up the option on Justin Fields. They are sticking with Russell Wilson this year, but they are going to let Justin Fields compete.
That's sarcasm.
Yeah, it could be. I mean,
that's
listen.
I don't know if you were aware of emojis, but see the little laughy face that usually.
It doesn't have the laughing face here on StreamYard where we're streaming.
Sorry.
So
there's a laughy face. So that
okay.
Maybe she should hashtag sarcasm next time to help you out. I don't know.
Yeah.
Help out the technical guy. Yeah.
Yes. Help out what we see on our end. Okay.
Help me.
Nevertheless.
Help you.
Help me. Help you. Help me. Help you. All right.
You're hanging on by a very thin thread, man. No, I was kidding.
Yeah. Listen, the number 4 pick goes to the Arizona Cardinals, and we picked the same position, but we picked different players. Bill, I know you've got a list of their biggest needs. I mean, we don't know if Kyler Murray's going to stay long-term in Arizona as well, but we both took wide receivers here versus Arizona. Make your case. I mean, I don't know if there is a case to make for the fact that you've got Arizona taking it 4 overall.
Arizona, the 5 biggest needs are wide receiver, cornerback, edge rusher, running back, and interior offensive lineman. Wide receiver, best on the board, probably the best player. I think the consensus best player in this draft, Marvin Harrison Jr. A lot of people think future Hall of Famer, including my Uncle Gary, who was in here just a little bit ago. I think it's a no-brainer on this one. I think this is a guarantee. I think you could put money on this one that they're going to pick this guy at number 4. But Ryan felt like he needed to be wrong with his 4th overall pick.
I needed to take a chance and make a change here. I don't think Marvin Harrison is going to live up to the hype that everybody thinks he's going to. I know that he had a stellar career at Ohio State. I know that he's touted as the best, quite possibly the best player in this draft. But I have concerns with the fact that I believe there's certain teams that he wants to go to. He didn't try out either in his pro day. He didn't try out at he didn't work out at the combine. To me, as little as Marvin Harrison Sr. screamed diva, Marvin Harrison Jr. screams diva to me, which is why I gave Malik Neighbors, the wide receiver out of LSU, to the Arizona Cardinals, so that I can give the I almost called him San Diego, the Los Angeles Chargers, and get Marvin Harrison at 5.
This is the same guy that texts me all the time saying that Xavier Legette's somehow going to creep over like 7 wide receivers into the 1st round. Not happening.
That's not me saying it. That's the NFL experts saying it, man.
Experts. Experts.
The NFL guys say that there's people that can sneak up into the 1st round, and Legette's one of them. So I don't know what you want from.
Did you ever notice they never put out like an accuracy of the experts? They never say like, here's how close I was to the 1st round in my mock draft. You know why? Because they're terrible at it. So let's not even.
There's a reason why they have jobs at NFL Network, NFL.com.
Because they're windbags. Chris Sims, Mike Tenenbaum, he wasn't even good at his job in the NFL, and now he's terrible as an analyst. It's just ridiculous. He's here because he was in the NFL.
All right, let's go to pick number 5, because again, this is another difference here. You've got obviously with Marvin Harrison Jr. gone at 4, you've given the Chargers Rome Odunze at 5 here. I mean, again, it makes sense, but to me, when I had Malik Neighbors going off the board at number 4, I've got Marvin Harrison going at 5. So I'm not really sure. Again, you talk about needs. They don't have any of the wide receivers they had catching passes in Los Angeles last year. Back in Los Angeles this year, Keenan Allen's gone. Mike Williams is gone. I'm trying to think. Was it Gerald Everett, their tight end last year? Austin Eckler's gone. So they need to fill up their skill players.
Their best players
surround Justin Herbert with.
Their best offensive player, not named Herbert, is it Justin? I don't even know his first name.
Josh.
Justin Palmer. Josh Palmer.
Josh
Thank
Palmer.
you. Thank you. I knew it was a J.
All right.
But yeah, their needs are wide receiver, cornerback, interior offensive lineman, tackle, and running back. So I have them taking a wide receiver as well. But I have them taking the right one, not the one that isn't going to be on the board when they pick.
Well, I don't know how to follow that.
Oh, wait,
I don't know how to
you should
transition to
ask
that.
me, hey, Bill, how come you don't have them taking Malik Neighbors? Because I think Roma Dunze is going to be a better wide receiver. And I think that their head coach had to study quite a bit of film of Mr. Odunze when he had to play him in the national championship game and probably said, this guy can ball. So I think they're going to take him with that number 5 pick.
I mean, it's hard to disagree with you. I mean, so far your draft sort of, I wouldn't say mimics a lot of mock drafts being put out there by guys like Field Yates and why can't I say the guy?
Because I'm not guessing. I'm not going, oh, look, Marvin Harrison, best player in the draft. He's going to go number 5. Like, come on.
Well, nevertheless, next up, we got number 6, the New York Football Giants. There's been New York Giants fans have sort of toyed with the idea that there's a chance that they can go quarterback here, but neither one of us have taken a quarterback.
I've heard that a lot.
Yeah.
I've heard that a lot.
Yeah.
I'm like, somebody said that's the most Giant thing to do.
Yep.
Dave Gettleman, that's what he does. Just does dumb stuff. I mean, Daniel Jones, $40 million man. Like, let's pick another quarterback here. I
mean, in fairness, Gettleman was a better GM for the Panthers than anybody the Panthers have had since new ownership has taken over in Carolina. Listen, at 6 overall, you have taken Malik Neighbors. We've talked about all these wide receivers here. Is it just why do you take another wide receiver here in New York when they just drafted Jalen Hyatt last year? And I think you get more questions about running back and quarterback before you start putting up other wide receivers around who you don't know is going to be there.
The NFL.com lists their biggest needs as wide receiver, cornerback, running back, safety, and quarterback. So I went with the best wide receiver. And the fact that you mentioned Jalen Hyatt, he really didn't do anything last season. So what are you going to get out of this guy? A lot of the wide receivers that really do anything now do it right away. They actually show up in their rookie season. I'd hate to see. I mean, there is obviously a potential for development, and I was talking about it at work. I'm tired of hearing about Sterling Shepard and how good he's going to be. That's not happening. And Jalen Hyatt, it's all potential right now. And now they're talking about Malik Neighbors. There's 3 really good wide receivers in this draft that are going to make an impact next season. The experts tend to agree on that, and here they get one of them. Malik Neighbors goes to the Giants at 6.
I've got the Giants taking another offensive lineman because you've put all this money into Daniel Jones, you've let Saquon Barkley go. There's plenty of wide receivers in this draft where the Giants didn't need to draft another wide receiver in the first round. You can get a decent receiver in the second.
That's a good point.
But you're going to need to keep Daniel Jones healthy and upright to see if he is indeed the quarterback in the future.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. If you keep him upright, he's terrible. Tyrod Taylor would still be a better option. DeVito might be a better option. We might find that out this season. Daniel Jones is garbage. But you got to give him somebody to throw to. I agree with you. He needs to stay upright. But however, he still stinks when he has time.
Sean McElveen in the chat, stoked that the draft is in Motor City. Listen, you stay tuned to find out who I've got the Lions taking off the board because they don't draft until late in the first round. So appreciate you being a part of the show. I've got the Giants taking Joe Alt, the offensive tackle out of Notre Dame. Coincidentally, that is who you have going at number 7 to the Tennessee Titans.
Yes.
Bill, so if you look at the 7 picks, we've got all the same players. We just got them in a different order.
Well, if you look at the drafttech.com big board, those are what is it? I think that's 8 of the top picks right there. The only one that they have on their big board that we haven't put on the board yet is Brock Bowers. That's their 5th overall prospect. So it's team needs. The Titans' biggest need, according to NFL.com, is offensive tackle. The best one goes to the Titans.
Yeah. I gave them, again, we keep talking about the same players. I gave them Roma Dunze because you've got an aged DeAndre Hopkins as your only wide receiver that's of note in Tennessee. And if you want to start building your offense around Will Levis, there's no Derrick Henry to alleviate with the run game. You're going to have to get some playmakers, which is why I like the Titans going with Roma Dunze. We actually agreed again here at the 8th overall pick. to the Atlanta Falcons, taking Dallas Turner, the edge rusher out of Alabama. I mean, Atlanta, I feel like Atlanta's got needs all over the board. Like, you could have argued that they needed, well, no, they don't need a quarterback anymore because they went and got Kirk Cousins. But, let me hear your thoughts about taking the edge rusher from Alabama here for Atlanta.
NFL.com says edge, cornerback, defensive tackle, and safety. So pretty much everything defense. So they have a good linebacker. Like, that's really all they're saying. And then the quarterback is still listed as a need because Cousins is older. So, if you're going to try to win now with Cousins, you're not going to pick a quarterback to be a backup. So I think Dallas Turner, the best defensive edge rusher coming off the end in this draft. I think he goes to the Falcons, makes them a better team. I did see there was a little bit of a debate between most people picking the draft that he and I can't say his first name, so we'll just call him El Latu.
Yeah.
Which one of those two guys was going to go first? I just think Dallas Turner, bigger dude, probably the better NFL-ready guy. However, they think that Latu might have more sacks than him, but I see Dallas Turner going here to the Falcons.
Well, it's funny because you mentioned Latu. I've got him going number 9 to the Bears actual first-round pick here. The only reason I gave him Latu is because he was the best player on the board of need. I mean, I almost had the Bears drafting Brock Bowers, but they've got Cole Kmet, who's been a serviceable tight end. I'm like, maybe you build around Caleb Williams with another rookie tight end. But I gave him a defensive edge rusher here in Latu out of UCLA, primarily because, like, you're kind of like what the Houston strategy from last year. You went and drafted a quarterback in CJ Stroud, and then the very next pick, you take the best defensive player available in the draft. And I feel like the Bears could follow that strategy and do the same thing, which is why I gave him Latu. However, you went a different direction that I don't disagree with. You gave them the tackle out of Oregon State. God, these guys have the most unreadable names. In
Wait, can I try this one? I think I did it last night. Oh no, that's not the hard one. Keep going.
Tyrese
Fuaga. Yeah, that's an easy one.
Right. Obviously, your thought process is that you got to keep Caleb Williams upright, and so you draft an offensive lineman. Would that be pretty much summing it up?
Yes. Well, yeah,
Okay.
We'll leave it at that. I mean, it's one of their needs, right? So they need offensive linemen. Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right. Well, it
would have been nice if Justin Fields had a good offensive line, huh?
No kidding. We both agreed on the number 10 overall pick as we finally have the Jets going and getting Brock Bowers. Aaron Rodgers, over his career, has had a slew of tight ends that were very productive in his offenses, and getting the best tight end in this draft, my opinion, will be a better prospect than I can't. Why can't I even say his name? The tight end that got drafted out of Florida to the Falcons a couple of years ago.
Kyle Pitts.
I think Kyle Pitts. I think Brock Bowers is a better prospect, and I think he's going to have a better career, especially when the Jets inevitably draft a quarterback late in this draft to succeed Aaron Rodgers after retirement.
Bill, I have a fun Brock Bowers statistic for you, Ryan.
Let's hear it.
Brock Bowers at one point last season had a play where he ran 21.4 miles per hour, according to Amazon. What do they call that?
Like next gen
analytics. Yeah, next gen stats. That is faster than any tight end has run in the NFL in the last 4 years. He went over 20 miles an hour 4 times last season. The rest of all the tight ends in all of college football did it 3 times.
It's almost unfair the talent that Georgia had on that offense.
Yeah, that man can run.
And
put him
Brock
on the Jets
Bowers
offense. I don't like it. Get him out of my division. Somebody else pick him up. But he is obviously their number one need, according to NFL.com, is tight end. And they get what looks like maybe one of the best ones to come out of college football in a while. So Brock Bowers to the Jets. I don't like it. I'm unhappy. Bummer.
Well, we also agreed on the number 11 pick is the Minnesota Vikings could not re-sign Kirk Cousins. So now they're looking for a quarterback. And rather than Jim Harbaugh putting his money where his mouth is and trading away Justin Herbert so he could draft J.J. McCarthy.
He doesn't want to lose, right?
J.J. McCarthy goes to the Minnesota Vikings at 11. I mean, I think it's a pretty straightforward thought here that Minnesota needs a quarterback without Kirk Cousins there. That, people have kind of been wondering what Kirk Cousins was going to do. It's always that what's next for Kirk Cousins. It's been like that his entire career, and now the Vikings move on without having a contract in place for Justin Jefferson. Do you think J.J. McCarthy is being set up for success here with the Vikings?
Heck no. Heck
I agree.
no. You know what? J.J. McCarthy wouldn't be set up for success in the Dolphins offense. Like, he is not an NFL quarterback. He was a game manager in college. He's not going to be any more than that in the pros, if that. I don't like him at all. I don't like him at all.
Hot take, Bill.
Yeah.
I like J.J. McCarthy more than I like Caleb Williams. I genuinely do.
I mean, this is why you shouldn't bet on your Marvin Harrison Jr. pick not happening at 4. I'm not sure. I like Caleb Williams better than JJ. Dude, this is not a good pick. It's not a good pick.
You know what J.J. McCarthy did in college that Caleb Williams didn't do?
Won a national championship?
Yep. You talk about winning the big games. J.J. McCarthy's been there. Now, J.J. McCarthy going to the Vikings is going into a gauntlet of a division with the Lions and the Packers, who both have pretty good defenses.
We'll see. But yeah.
But I digress.
Good for you guys. Right. Honestly, good for the Lions with this pick. If this actually comes to fruition and J.J. McCarthy is the pick here, man.
Oh,
I get Brock Bowers. I get Brock Bowers in my division. You get J.J. McCarthy. Like, that's not fair.
I love it. All right. Let's go to pick number 12. Let's see. I don't know. Yeah, we've got the same play. No, we don't. I thought we did. Pick number 12 goes to the Denver Broncos, who traded earlier this week for why can't I say his name? The quarterback, Zach Wilson from the New York Jets. Neither one of us have them taking a quarterback here at 12. Bill, if I'm not mistaken, you have them taking the guy that I've already took.
Latu, edge.
Yeah, you got Latu.
Yeah.
Why do you have the Broncos going off or defensive when it seems like their offense fell apart in the offseason?
Honestly, well, because Zach Wilson's going to be amazing in a new. No, listen. I've seen a lot of people mocking Bo Nix here. Please, 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 go watch some Auburn tape. Do not watch him at Oregon. Man was 25 years old playing at Oregon, with 24, whatever. He's a man among boys at Oregon in the Pac-12, which obviously wasn't near as good as we thought it was because Washington got absolutely stomped out by Michigan. So watch Auburn tape. Do not pick Bo Nix. Honestly, I gave them edge is listed as their 4th need. They say QB, cornerback, defensive tackle, edge, and offensive tackle is what they're looking for on offense. And Latu is probably between him and Dallas Turner. It's a toss-up and edge rushers, and there's 3 positions that you need in the NFL. You need quarterback, you need offensive tackle, and you need edge rushers. And he might be the best one in this draft. Look at Jalen Phillips, obviously a game changer for the Dolphins, and I think that's what he's going to be for the Broncos. That's why I put him there.
See, I took Byron Murphy, defensive lineman out of Texas, for that same reason. Like, they've got to start somewhere. And he talked about defensive tackle being one of those needs, and he was at the time he was the best defensive lineman available on the board, which is why I had Byron Murphy going to the Broncos at 12.
You had Byron Murphy as the best defensive lineman in that position?
At that time, yeah. I mean, when I talk, I mean, as far as like the trying to think, so the website that I used to do this mock draft had like everybody sort of ranked, and at the time he was up there. Like, as far as, I mean, my next picks from 13 to 20. There's not a single defensive tackle or defensive lineman off the board until 23 that we'll get to here in a second. But yeah, he was to me the best guy on the board. And you fill a need, you take Byron Murphy out of Texas at 13. If I'm not mistaken, we have the same pick here.
Raiders?
we have yeah, for the number 13 for the Raiders. We both gave them the same position, but we went different players. You went with is it Quinion Mitchell, cornerback out of Toledo, and whereas I went Terrion Arnold, cornerback out of Alabama. You get an SEC seasoned cornerback in Arnold. That's why I gave the Raiders him versus your guy out of Toledo. Why'd you go with Quinion here?
I've been looking at a certain website for a lot of years. It's called drafttech.com. They do a fantastic job breaking down players, big board, mock drafts, that kind of thing. They have Terrion Arnold rated lower than Quinion Mitchell.
And that's why you took
Quinion Mitchell, 13th overall player. Terrion Arnold's the 14th overall player. It's a toss-up. So I just went with the highest one, Quinion Mitchell.
Guys, I'm looking at the clock. We're going to go late tonight. Hopefully you're going to stick around for
us. A little bit.
Tim Weinreich, I hope I pronounced that right, asks if Caleb Williams has the potential to be the biggest bust in the NFL.
Yes.
And I said it earlier in the show that he absolutely does. Shauna wants to know if the outfits were planned. No, I was wearing a different hoodie when the show started or before the show came on the air, and I saw Bill was Dolphins jacket, Dolphins hat. I'm like, all right, I'll change before we come on the air. So
I planned mine, Shauna, if you
yeah,
want to know.
Bill planned
You didn't
his.
see me
All
go
right.
to the closet.
All right, the 14th. Yeah. What? Yeah, I did have to go to the closet. All right.
Yeah.
The 14th overall pick goes to the New Orleans Saints, a year removed from when they were quite possibly the favorite to win the division and lost it at the end of the year to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's see, 14. We have the same position again, but just different. No, we actually have the same player. Oh, this is a fun one. Can you say this name, Bill?
This is my favorite player in the first round. Oh, actually, it's not. There's one that I like more. I'm gonna try. You ready?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Alumiua Fashanu.
Alumiua Fashanu. That's what I would call him.
Okay.
Yeah, the offensive tackle out of Penn State. Why is he your favorite player in this draft?
Because of his name. Actually, I have one more that I like more.
Okay.
I like fun names. Like Tua's real name is ridiculous. So
yeah, it
Get
looks like
Rich.
your buddy
Get outta here,
Rich saying Bill, like a Cowboys fan, always hopeful, always let down. And Pedro agrees with us that the Saints do go offensive tackle if they're gonna improve on last year.
I could never be a Cowboys fan though. Couldn't do it.
I don't think anybody outside of Cowboys fans that were like born and raised with it can be Cowboys fans. America's armpit. All right. We go to the 15th pick in the NFL draft. And that pick goes to the Indianapolis Colts. A surprisingly good year, despite losing Anthony Richardson early in the season. Gardner Minshew comes out and has an incredible year. Almost leads the Colts to the playoffs. Gardner Minshew is gone, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, did we have the same player? No, we did. We have different guys going here. You've got him going defense. I've got him going offense. Bill, who you got the Colts taking at 15 overall?
I haven't taken your Alabama cornerback, Terrion Arnold. The NFL.com lists that as their number one need: cornerback, wide receiver, running back, interior offensive line, and safety. So they get what you consider the best cornerback in the draft. I say he's the number 2 cornerback, but he's a good player.
Let's see. Tim Weinreich also says Dejan is better than Jason Sehorn.
Wow. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
Dejan. Good stuff. Yeah, listen.
Though.
Yeah, well, he corrected himself in the comments.
Words are hard.
Hard,
Ryan.
He came back and he fixed it. I've got them going offensive tackle in I think you already had him earlier in the draft in Fuaga from Oregon State. I had him dropping to 15 again. When you think about the fact that Anthony Richardson got hurt last year, albeit it was running the football, eventually you're going to have to let Anthony Richardson sit in the pocket and be a pocket quarterback in the NFL.
No, you're not. No, you're not. What are you talking about right now? Do you hear yourself? Yourself? You're just called Anthony Richardson a pocket passer.
You're going to have to maybe sit back in the pocket and make decisions. He's not as athletic as Lamar Jackson.
That's the defense's job. You're correct. But I'm not sure Anthony Richardson wants to do that.
I'm still not sold on Anthony Richardson, okay?
He looked a lot better than we thought he was going to.
Last year, we talked about the fact that he was going to cost somebody their job in 4 to 5 years. We didn't get to see much out of him this past season. And so I'm not entirely sold on Anthony Richardson. I don't know if I'm sold on CJ Stroud after 1 year.
Exactly. We're not sold, but we're definitely closer to buying than we were last season.
You know what? That's good, Bill.
Way closer.
I like that. All right. Let's go to 16. Seattle Seahawks. Too bad our friend Andy's not in the chat with us tonight. The Seattle Seahawks are next up on the board at 16 overall. You've already brought in this guy. And listen, Seattle's been looking for some secondary help for quite some time. They have not had the same secondary since the Legion of Boom years with Richard Sherman and company. That's why I gave them Quinion Mitchell here at 16. But you went a different direction. You gave them Troy. Help me out here. Offensive tackle out of Washington.
Again?
Troy.
Yeah.
Yes. Help me out.
Troy Fontanu. I think it's just Fontanu. I think it's
I don't have him going until 20. So it's But
they move him interior.
Tackle.
He's a tackle, and they're going to move him into the interior line. Is what's going to happen.
So again, I don't think you can go wrong. Like, I don't know. Geno Smith is still in Seattle. I don't know what Seattle's going to look like next year. Like, it's one of those, like, they've had a quiet offseason.
It's going to be overcast and raining. Oh, you mean the team? My bad.
That's good. Yeah. All right, 17 in the draft goes to Jacksonville Jaguars. Bill went a different direction than I did again, as he's got the Bills taking Nate Wiggins, cornerback out of Clemson. Yeah, what did I say?
You said
did I say Bills? Because I saw your name on the screen, and that's why I said Bills. The Jacksonville Jaguars taking Nate Wiggins. Was cornerback their biggest need according to your website that you've been using?
No, yes, it is their biggest need, and this is sort of a reach for them only because they're going for their biggest need, and there just wasn't anything else like defensive tackle, offensive tackle, interior offensive line, and edge where their other needs. There wasn't anything that fit the talent level that was left on the board, so I gave them basically the next best cornerback. A lot of people like this guy. He's just skinny. He's 6'2". Yeah. They say he can do everything. He weighs up between 185 pounds, depending on who you ask and whether or not he's wet.
Yeah, I went a different direction because I still think they're looking for weapons on offense. They lose Calvin Ridley. We don't know what else they're getting. I mean, it's hard to say what their offense is going to look like. You've got Travis Etienne out of Clemson at running back. You're going to have Trevor Lawrence back for another year in Jacksonville, but I don't think we've seen them go up to their full potential on offense at this point. I think you give them a wide receiver out of LSU and Brian Thomas Jr. At this point, LSU is wide receiver U. And so it's one of those things like you've got to take a chance to continue to build around Trevor Lawrence because they got lucky 2 years ago, which turned them into the favorite to win the division last year, and they were surpassed by rookie C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans. Yeah. So I feel like you have to continue to build on offense around Trevor Lawrence, and that's why I gave them Brian Thomas, the wide receiver out of LSU, at 17. When we go to 18, we go to the Cincinnati Bengals. And again, news broke earlier today that their star defensive end, and I can't say his name off the top of my head, but T. Higgins has requested a trade, and now a star defensive end has requested a trade. He's owed $15 million this year, but he wants more money. That did not play a factor into my draft. But again, you talk about what the Bengals need every single year, and it's to find a way to keep Joe Burrow upright. And we both somehow at 18 overall came up with the same pick, and J.C. Latham, the offensive tackle out of Alabama. Bill, is this the guy that you were talking about earlier? Is your favorite prospect in the draft?
It is not. It's not. Favorite prospect. It's favorite name. It's favorite name.
Favorite name. Okay, favorite name.
Yeah. I always have a guy in the first round that I love his name, and this one, it's an easy one this season.
Oh, sweet. So, I mean, same reasons why you took J.C. Latham for the Bengals here. Keep Joe Burrow healthy, keep him up.
Yeah, just a need. They've had a terrible pass blocking offensive line for years. I think 2 years ago they were the 31st worst offensive line in the NFL, and I think the year they went to the Super Bowl they had like the 31st worst pass blocking win rate, and he still carried them to the Super Bowl. They've been needing to fix that offensive line for seasons, and I think this is another step towards trying to accomplish that. You talked about their defensive lineman. I want to say like Hendrickson or Frederick. I don't remember what his name is. Number 91, whoever that is. He asked for a trade. I mean, does that mean they might go edge, or do they try to calm him down and then go tackle? I don't know. Best edge on the board, it looks like, would be one of the guys that came, Jared Verse for Florida State. I hope he's done crying, though, because I know that he's had a lot of boxes of tissues that he's gone through. And I hope he's done. Hopefully he can get back to football instead of whining. But yeah, he's the best edge on the board. He's actually really good. 15th overall prospect according to the draft text. So either way, but here I have J.C. Latham like you do.
Tim comes back in the chat. Do we see the most offensive players drafted in the first round get set tomorrow? Considering we're talking about a lot of offensive linemen,
a lot of wide receivers,
a lot of wide receivers and quarterbacks, there's a very high likelihood of that happening at this point.
Let's say this really quick, right? I saw a report today that some people there's a possibility that 6 quarterbacks could be drafted in the first round tomorrow. Now,
we've listed 4, right?
Well, we've listed, I think,
4, the top 3, and then JJ McCarthy.
4. So there would be 2 more. That is definitely something you and I want to see with both of our teams drafting in the bottom half of the first round. That means talent just gets shoved down the board, and I would love to see people trading up to draft quarterbacks.
Well, speaking of talent, you mentioned Jared Verse a second ago. I've got him going 19 overall to the Rams. He's not going to be able to go and fill a void from Aaron Donald's retirement. Aaron Donald, obviously not a defensive, an edge rusher. He was an interior defensive lineman. Matter of fact, again, same deal here. We both have him at 19 overall going to the Rams.
Yep.
But like you said, maybe he's dried his tears at this point.
I love it.
So that he can
come at me, Jared. No, I was kidding. Your whole team's
Please don't.
Whiners. Yeah, don't kill me.
I'm 5'7". Please don't come at me. All right.
I know.
All right. Number 20 goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And again, we both have the same position with different players. You've got Amarius Mims, the offensive tackle out of Georgia, whereas you've already drafted him earlier in this draft, Troy Fontenot out of Washington. Again, they've got new quarterback. They got a whole new quarterback room in Pittsburgh. And despite both of them being sort of the mobile type quarterbacks, Russell Wilson is not as mobile as he used to be. And so I think we can both agree that they need somebody to protect these guys, right?
Yeah, I agree. And what I read about Amarius Mims is that he might have the most upside coming out of Georgia than any of the other tackles in this draft, which means that's coach speak for he hasn't reached his potential yet, and he's a project.
Well, I guess we'll find out here. You've got him going to the Steelers. I am going a couple picks later. Let's go to pick number 21 to your Miami Dolphins. This might be your favorite pick because it's your team picking here in the first round. You have taken Byron Murphy, defensive tackle out of Texas, that I had going all the way back at number 12 to the Broncos. I'm sure you've got him filling the void left by the departure of Christian Wilkins. Was that your thought process?
Yeah, he on the board that I was reading, he is the number 19 overall prospect. So he kind of falls exactly where he should in this area. Miami's needs, and I'll find those quickly. Miami's needs listed as interior offensive line, which there's another really good one available there. So it's I was kind of picking between the two: defensive tackle, offensive tackle, edge, or tight end. There's a very good offensive lineman that's about to go on my board in the next pick that they could also pick, but I think they need to shore up the defensive line. They drafted like 17, or not drafted. They signed like 17 interior defensive linemen in free agency, and it's literally like, I'm exaggerating, but I think it's like 7. That's a lot, right? But not all those guys are going to make the roster. Byron Murphy, obviously, it could be a difference maker for that team, so I like him going there to the Dolphins at 21.
See, I went a different direction because the Dolphins, they've got
the wrong direction.
They've got a bunch of defensive backs there.
It just scrolled by too. It just scrolled by the wrong pick.
I feel like the Dolphins have struggled to find the defensive backfield that they want.
Wait a minute.
You've got Jalen Ramsey. I can't. Obviously the safeties are fine, but it's one of those things that, like, again, with your defensive coordinator not playing press. We talked about this on the show about their lack of aggressiveness from their defensive backs. Your wide receiver your cornerback out of South Carolina, Cam Smith, didn't get a lot of play time in Miami last year because they didn't, whether he was not good or whether he didn't fit the system, didn't get along with the coaches. So there's room to bring in another cornerback. And I think at this point in my draft, I thought Nate Wiggins, the cornerback out of Clemson, despite being undersized, was that guy. He knows how to get after the football. He knows how to turn over quarterbacks. And if there's anything that Miami can use, it's more guys that can spy and play the pass against guys like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers. So anything they can do to cover receivers down the field is what Miami's going to need to do, and that's why I had them going cornerback. I was hoping you were gonna have something negative.
I don't want to like full on take a steamer on this one, but they signed the best corner in free agency, Kenneth Fuller. Okay. He's number 6 rated cornerback in the NFL over the last 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
He's now Miami Dolphins. So now you've got Ramsey on one side, Fuller on the other side. You've got Smith. We don't know how good he's going to be. Can he play slot? Can he play outside? We don't know yet. I do know what they thought about him last year. They thought he wasn't working hard enough, and we had the old school Vic Fangio guy who that's a whole nother story about whether or not he even wanted to be in Miami because he wanted to be in Philadelphia where he lives. Now he is in Philadelphia after quitting. Like, that's a whole nother story. So who knows what was going on with Cam Smith? That was their number 1 draft pick or number 2 second rounder, but it was their top draft pick last season. And they still have Keter Kohu. So Ryan, I'm not feeling cornerback there. However, that dude he went higher on my board. So if he falls to Miami and that's what they pick, you never can have enough corners. They get injured. Yep. You can never have enough.
Exactly. And again, more to my point there. Let's go to number 22 in the Philadelphia Eagles. You've already drafted the guy that I took in Amarius Mims, offensive tackle out of Georgia. The Eagles, you've got Jackson Powers Johnson, the center out of Oregon. Again, sort of an agreement. What more do you need in Philadelphia than more pass protection for Jalen Hurts? More ability to more offensive linemen to be able to help block for the run. They've got Saquon Barkley in Philadelphia now, so you're going to have to bulk up that offensive line to get Saquon some holes and to get him some open space. I'm assuming that's why you went the direction you did as I did.
I think it was pretty simple. Jason Kelce retired. They pick up this year's Remington Award winner in Jackson Powers Johnson, center out of Oregon. Pretty simple. We got rid of a Hall of Famer. Now we picked the best center in college football. I don't say got rid of, lost a Hall of Famer because they definitely didn't want him to retire.
No, I still think there's a shot that he gets sick and decides to come back for one more year. A la Brady, a la Favre, et cetera. Pedro Guillen, go Birds. He's excited for the next year. For Eagles football, let's go back to pick number 23, and the Vikings are back on the clock. Bill, I think we went opposite directions here as well. As you went offensive lineman, I went defensive lineman. Give us your reasoning behind your pick of Graham Barton, offensive. Was it another center out of Duke? Is that what that was?
He's a center / tackle. I don't know how they.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Like, I don't play guard. I play center or tackle. Their biggest needs were quarterback, interior, offensive lineman, edge, wide receiver, and defensive tackle. They filled their need at quarterback with their first pick with J.J. McCarthy, and I think that they go to the interior offensive line. And, this guy can play multiple positions. He's got some position flexibility. So I think they picked the best guy available for that position with Graham Barton, tackle / center out of Duke.
I went Zerhan Newton, defensive lineman out of Illinois, primarily because of the fact that the Vikings have struggled on defense. Even the year they won the division 2 or 3 years ago in the NFC North, they got blown out in the first week of the playoffs because they did not have a defense.
Yep.
So what better way than to, again, you've now gotten J.J. McCarthy, you've gotten your quarterback of the future that you think is going to take you to that next level. Now you're going to go back and try to build this defense that you desperately need to do. And that's why I had him going defensive tackle. 24 goes to the Dallas Cowboys.
Boo.
It is not.
Oh, sorry.
It is. I think I finally drafted your favorite name. Yeah, I think I finally drafted your favorite name in this draft. Listen, Stephon Gilmore has not signed anywhere. There are rumors that he is the Panthers are courting him. The Cowboys want him back. But as of right now, he is not signed anywhere, which means that there is a need at cornerback for the Dallas Cowboys. And so I've got cornerback out of Alabama, Kool-Aid McKinstry, being drafted by the Cowboys.
There it is. The best name in the first round right there. I wanted him to go to the Packers so bad. In fact, I think when I first did the mock, I had him going to the Packers at 25. I have Kool-Aid going a little farther down the draft this time. I wanted to go from Clinton Dix to Kool-Aid McKinstry so bad, like this was the best. Anyway, Clinton Dix not in the league anymore. Yeah, I have them picking another offensive lineman. They've lost a bunch of offensive linemen this season. The NFL.com lists their needs as offensive tackle, running back, interior offensive lineman, defensive tackle, and wide receiver. Nothing on the talent board really lined up for those first two needs, so I have them picking center Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma.
I've got him going later on in the first round, but I digress. Not a bad pick for either of us with the Cowboys. You mentioned the Packers. They're next up on the board at number 25. A surprisingly good season for them, considering it's their first year without Aaron Rodgers, and they all, they made the playoffs. And a team that you were excited about, you thought were going to be better than I did. And that's why they're drafting so late in this first round. We both have the same player at 25 overall, Cooper DeJean, the cornerback out of Iowa, going here to Green Bay. The only concern is that he had a broken leg, a fractured leg at the end of his season, so he hasn't done a lot of the workouts and stuff like that, which is, I think, part of the reason why he falls. I don't know why I went with this pick other than the fact that a lot of the experts were saying that this is where he was going to go. Green Bay is now in a division with a highly potent offense in the Detroit Lions, potentially potent if Caleb Williams turns out to be the quarterback people thinks he's going to be.
Stop it.
And so I think that their idea is that we need to find someone to cover some of the receivers in this division, even if the quarterbacks aren't good. You've got Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Keenan Allen, all in this division. So you're going to need cornerbacks to cover these guys, which is why we both got going Cooper DeJean. Is there another reason?
DJ Moore, yeah.
DJ Moore, yeah, too.
Another good player. Is there another reason? No, Cooper DeJean was listed on my board as the 18th overall pick. Packers had a need. Their needs were defensive tackle, linebacker, offensive tackle, cornerback, and safety. So they have a need at cornerback and safety, and this guy just happens to be listed as both. He's a cornerback / safety, so they can get position flexibility out of him. They get to play around on their defenses, and he's a good player. So I think this falls in really well for the Packers. Like I said, I wanted Kool-Aid to go here, but Cooper DeJean, better player than Kool-Aid is on most boards.
Shout out to Michael Davis, because Michael Davis on the Cat Cave weeks ago, and I mean weeks ago, said that there was an opportunity for the guy that we both have being drafted 26th overall to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to sneak into the first round. And we both did. The edge rusher out of Penn State, Demione, otherwise known as Chop Robinson, going to, I probably didn't pronounce that right.
I'm not even going to try to say it. He's Chop.
Going to the Bucs. Again, when you look at that NFC South, I'm not sure what they could do. I mean, they're going to have to get after these quarterbacks in this division. I mean, now they've got Kirk Cousins, who's been known to be successful, at least in the regular season. We still don't know what we're gonna get out of Carolina. Derek Carr, somewhat of a mobile quarterback, not like as mobile as you would like him to be, but you're gonna have to get after the passer to win the NFC South, and I think that's what they do here with Chop Robinson. A great combine. There's a lot of good things coming out about him post combine, and I think he's earned his way into the first round. What say you, Bill?
Edge rusher listed as their number one need there in Tampa Bay. Like you said, Chop Robinson having a great combine, and he moved up draft boards, was able to sneak in the first round. Obviously, I think this one's a no-brainer for me. I think this is a good pick by Tampa Bay. I think this is one of those ones where we could bet on it. That's going to happen. I think he goes there. I think that's what's going to happen.
I'm sure Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans would not be unhappy about that pick.
No.
Let's go to pick 27. You get to take your guy with the best name, Kool-Aid McKinstry, to the Arizona Cardinals at 27. I'm sure it's based on needs there as well.
Yeah, it's just another need. The Arizona Cardinals, it's a huge list, right? They need a lot of stuff, but wide receiver and corner were their number two needs. Obviously, we disagreed on which wide receiver they were going to take early in the first round. But they do get a wide receiver up there at number 4, and Kool-Aid McKinstry, their the number one cornerback still available at this point. You had him going earlier, so you're pretty high on him. Draft Tech had him as the number 32 overall prospect. I think this one's a no-brainer as well. Kool-Aid McKinstry to the Cardinals at 27.
You're going to need to build around whatever quarterback is going to be in Arizona, be it Kyler Murray for the future or whoever they're going to draft at quarterback next season. I gave them another wide receiver in the first round in Adonai Mitchell, wide receiver out of Texas. I think Texas is kind of stacked with wide receivers
loading up
coming out of the draft, and so Arizona in a division where offenses tend to be explosive. I mean, you got to think the Rams and Matthew Stafford a year after essentially getting the number one or a top 5 pick, despite having traded it away to the Detroit Lions in that trade with Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford. People forgot about the Rams, and they all but made the playoffs and gave the Lions everything they could handle in the playoffs. You think about the rest of this division, you've got San Francisco, you've got Seattle, teams that, especially San Francisco's, made it to the Super Bowl once again this year. So Arizona, if they don't have an offense that's going to be able to produce, then Arizona is going to continue to fall by the wayside, and Kyler Murray will fall into the oblivion. He'll fall into irrelevance behind this bad Arizona Cardinals organization, and which is why I have him going wide receiver at 27. At 28, we get your division rival Buffalo Bills, and I like this pick that you made, even though I didn't have him going until later. I do have him going in the first round, but with the departure of Stephon Diggs, they are in need of wide receiver help. And you've given them Xavier Worthy, the fastest wide receiver in combine history, at 28 overall, another wide receiver out of Texas. Bill, what are your thoughts? I mean, is everything that I said kind of the reason why you went with Xavier Worthy?
Yeah, they need to make a big splash. I mean, I think that Bills fans are probably fairly upset that Diggs is no longer on the team. It doesn't make sense to a lot of people to trade him away for a bag of peanuts. The guy was leading what do we say, 1,000 yards the last 6 or 7 straight seasons in a row. He was obviously, Josh Allen has come out and said he's made him the quarterback that he is. Of course he did, because he can catch. He has a wide catch radius because all your balls are everywhere, Josh. But I think it's going to be tough for them to, they have to make a splash here. And I think picking up the fastest receiver in the draft, Xavier Worthy, we weren't talking a ton about him until he ran that combine run. I mean, we heard about this guy's pretty fast. We knew that. And everybody's saying, oh, he'll go to the Dolphins in the 3rd round. Yeah, no. Xavier Worthy goes in the 1st round because dude is lightning. So let's see what happens up there in Buffalo. I think this is a cool pick. This is one that I was like, they need a wide receiver. Who's it going to be? Because there are a million wide receivers down at the bottom of the, let's call it the 30 to 50 area. There's just so many. You got Ladd McConkey, Xavier Worthy's down there, Troy Franklin, Keon Coleman, Adonai Mitchell's down there, Xavier Legette's down there, Ricky Pearsall's down there. There's a ton of wide receivers down here right at the bottom of the first and the top of the 2nd rounds. So I think Xavier Worthy, being as fast as he is, he's the splash pick for the Bills.
I don't disagree with that. I will say that the Bills met with the other Xavier Legette earlier this week, as did apparently the Lions. So it wouldn't shock me if they went Xavier Legette instead of Xavier Worthy here. I was listening to ESPN Radio earlier today, and I don't know who was on there because I don't listen to ESPN Radio all that much anymore. But they mentioned the fact that if Jameson Williams hadn't gotten hurt coming out of college, and with Alabama going to the Lions, is Jameson Williams worse than Xavier Worthy at anything? He's fractionally slower, but he does everything better than Xavier Worthy. And so they weren't very high on Xavier Worthy. Again, Michael Davis, shout out to the Cat Cave co-host with me, has said that Xavier Worthy's, they've had concerns about his hands and about his ability to bring in the ball, which is why I didn't have him quite yet going here to the Buffalo Bills. A guy that you drafted earlier in this draft, Tyler Guyton, offensive tackle out of Oklahoma, is where I've got Buffalo going. Because, again, Buffalo has struggled to run the ball outside of Josh Allen every single season. They started to kind of get it going a little bit this year, but they haven't been able to put it in that extra overdrive that they need to make this a balanced offense. They still need to keep Josh Allen upright despite his ability to get out in open space and run with the football. And again, with the way that my mock draft rolled out, is where I gave, why I had Tyler Guyton going here at 28 to the Bills. At 29, we get my Detroit Lions, NFC North defending division champions, runners up in the NFC title game. Bill, you gave them going corner, which I can't disagree with. They need secondary help. You've got them going Ennis Rakestraw, cornerback out of Missouri. I had them going a different Missouri player with an edge rusher and Darius Robinson. I'm guessing, again, it's based off needs. Like cornerback, defensive back is one of the big needs that Lions had, correct?
We watched them in the playoffs. So the reason that they did not play for the Super Bowl and beat the Kansas City Chiefs, because I still believe they would have, is because they could not stop the passing attack from the San Francisco 49ers multiple times in that game. And we saw the one where, the crazy one where Ayuk makes the crazy catch. They just couldn't stop the passing attack. I think had they been able to, had they had better corners, and they got rid of them, they're not there anymore. And so I think This one was tough for me because as I'm doing my mock draft, I'm like, all right, this is going to be the biggest scrutinized pick of all of them because this is Ryan's team, and I'm worried about it. I'm like, well, who's they going to pick? And NFL.com rates their number, their needs as cornerback, edge rusher. Even though you have Hutchinson, I was like, okay.
No, I'll get there. Trust me, I'll get there.
Safety, offensive tackle, and wide receiver. And I was like, all right, corner. Yes, I agree with that because I watched that game and I was bummed to see them lose. So yeah, you get the best one left on the board. He's the 35th overall prospect, rated prospect by Draft Tech. So he kind of reached a little bit, but only about 6 spots. So he goes 29 to the Lions.
I've got them going edge rusher Darius Robinson out of Missouri because as good as Aiden Hutchinson is, when you have an entire offensive lineman dedicated to stopping the havoc that is Aiden Hutchinson, and you don't have somebody else to get after the quarterback, the quarterback's going to have all day to throw the ball. And Aiden Hutchinson did not get a bunch of sacks in his first 2 years, and it's primarily because, a la what they did to Jadeveon Clowney in college, they double teamed him. They Kansas City the entire first game of the year lined up illegally on the offensive line to give themselves offensive advantage over Aiden Hutchinson. So I've got the Lions going the best available edge rusher here at the end of the first round. But I wouldn't be shocked if they went cornerback either because they do need some help on defense to match their potentially high potent offense going forward. We've almost reached the end of the first round. Now we get the Super Bowl runner-ups in the San Francisco 49ers. Bill, I'm kind of surprised by your pick. Let me talk about my pick first because you've already talked about them.
You skipped the Ravens.
Oh, we did skip the Ravens. Okay, good. I'm glad that's why you're here.
You know what? I am good with that. We can skip the Ravens. Not a fan.
You know what? Yeah. So I've got my picks on my phone, and for whatever reason, there was a menu over it up. I think you've already drafted the guy that I've got the Ravens taken. They need offensive line help. I've got them going Graham Barton, offensive lineman out of Duke. Bill, you gave them an offensive tackle out of Arizona.
I have them going Jordan. Yeah, Jordan Morgan. Yep. Both need off the offensive lineman opening holes for Derrick Henry.
Yeah. All right.
I hate
Let's
that.
go.
We have to say that out loud a lot now. That sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. I've already said that Derrick Henry's way past his prime.
You said that last year.
Get the same Derrick Henry in Baltimore. He still didn't look. I mean, it's going to be worse in Baltimore.
Wrong again, Ryan. Wrong again.
He's going to be worse in Baltimore.
I mean, that's fair.
Derrick Henry will not be the same running back people expect him to be in Baltimore. It's not the same offense.
We're going to have to document the expectations.
The run game goes through Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. It will not run through Derrick Henry. Anyway, I digress. Let's go to San Francisco at 31 here. The defending NFC champions. I believe, again, we both have them going the same need here. No, we don't, because I did want to get to it. I've got them going Jackson Powers Johnson, interior offensive lineman out of Oregon. You had Powers Johnson going to was it Philadelphia
Eagles.
earlier in the draft?
Eagles,
yeah. You have the Niners taking Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver out of LSU. Do the 49ers really not have enough wide receivers for you?
The fact that Brandon Ayuk came out this week and said he wanted to be traded, that's a problem. That problem. Yeah. So I think that they're going to hedge their bets on Brian Thomas Jr. They do have a lot of wide receivers. They really just have 2, but they have 2 very good ones. Yeah, they're going to hedge their bets on this one.
All right, I'll take that. I think they find a way to make Ayuk happy in San Francisco. I think there's another receiver that they would take instead of Brian Thomas, but that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. All right, the final pick in the first round, we have the Chiefs taking the same position because I don't care how many wide receivers they sign.
Yeah.
Nobody has been able to put up the consistent production of Tyreek Hill, despite the fact that the Chiefs are once again reigning and defending Super Bowl champions. You've got them taking the wide receiver. You've got them taking the other wide receiver out of Texas, the one that I had going earlier in this draft to Arizona, Adonai Mitchell out of Texas. But I have Kansas City taking Xavier Worthy out of Texas for the same reasons that you said that he could fit in Buffalo, or the same, or it was Buffalo that you had him drafted to, right?
Buffalo, yep.
Yep. Tyreek Hill is the fastest wide receiver in football. You've had some speedy receivers in Kansas City that just haven't panned out to be the receivers that you'd like them to be. And so I think Xavier Worthy can come in. He can be coached up. He can be the guy that can return kicks, return punts. He can be the guy that can get out open wide, open deep. And Patrick Mahomes can find himself a new fun, speedy target in Xavier Worthy. We know he's not going to get the number 10, though. Isaiah Pacheco holds that, and Tyreek Hill made it clear that he was not happy about that.
That hurt his feelings
earlier this week. Bill, we went super late. That is our mock draft for the NFL draft that starts tomorrow.
We are going to post these, right? We have to post these on the Tap Outs and Touchdowns page. We'll say Facebook page tomorrow, so that people can follow along in the real draft and see how wrong Ryan is and how right I am.
You're gonna put that kind of work on me. All right. I get it, Bill. All right.
Wrong again, Ryan.
Wrong again, Ryan. Yeah, that's gonna be a soundbite. All right. Bill, before we sign off, anything that you want to tell the viewers and the listeners today?
No. I enjoy the draft. I personally will watch the first round. I probably won't watch the rest of the draft. I might turn it on and have it in the background somewhere. There's football going to be on late on Saturday night. Football going to be on Sunday. I'll be watching the actual football being played, but I will watch the first round. That is the most fun time to see which teams get what players and whatnot. It's very exciting, and to watch the fans boo Roger Goodell.
Well, Pedro enjoyed the picks, and he's excited to see the trades. Yeah, we didn't do any trades.
I don't want to do trades.
Yeah, we didn't do any trades in our mock draft. So
that's true speculation. We're just doing it, what kind of makes sense to us. But yeah, there are going to be trades. I saw some mock drafts that they had like 8 trades in the first round. I was like, oh my goodness. Yeah.
And it always happens.
Hard to pick that. Yeah, it does happen. It's going to happen. Yeah, there's going to be trades that are going to happen. There are going to be teams that are trying to get out of their spots and other teams that want players that are higher in the draft, that kind of thing. So we'll see. It's going to be fun. That's what makes the first round so much fun. So enjoy watching that tomorrow night.
Well, I do want to thank everybody, whether you watch live with us, whether you listen to it, wherever you get your podcasts, to this extra special, jam-packed, almost 2-hour show. I know that attention spans are not what they used to be. So I want to greatly tell you how much we greatly appreciate you sticking with us this long tonight. If you haven't already done so, make sure you go over to facebook.com/tapouts and touchdowns, like and follow that page where you can see this show live every Wednesday and see the occasional post from Banker Bill and I where, and again, we're starting to get into some reels that you get to see highlights from the show that are pretty funny. If you haven't already done so, go to our Facebook page and share our reels, or share the reel that we posted earlier today. Make sure you can follow the show on X at Tapouts and TDs, or on YouTube at Tapouts and Touchdowns. You won't see it on the screen, but you can also go to Instagram and follow at ryan.w.frick, where you can get some podcast promotion there as well, with reels and stories and more conversation and whatnot, so that we can continue to promote the show. Thanks once again for everybody staying late, for everybody that was a part of the conversation. Too many people got into the conversation to get to and thank. But I don't know the next time we're going to have a wrestling show. But next week on the football show, we'll have a recap where we will officially be halfway through the regular season of the UFL. And we get to find out where Bully and Banker Bill were right and where we were wrong in our NFL mock draft predictions, specifically in the first round. And we can talk winners and losers of the 2024 NFL draft next week. For Banker Bill, it's your guy, Bully Rye. And we'll see you next time right here on Tap Outs and Touchdowns.